I would say on that topic, a lot of the discussion that happened around the release of those papers had to deal with people's personal financial information. We're continuing to always evaluate if there's something the state needs to do to take action, and that's something that I'll continue to make a priority as well. Yes?
So what is it that you kind of hope this bill will help protect in South Dakota, and what is it that makes these countries evil?
Well, it is part of their foreign policy to destroy the United States of America. Clearly through their actions that they take, the fact that they are not republics, not democratic countries that truly do embrace not only just human rights, but also the rights and freedoms of the people that live there, and the actions that they take to aggressively go after the United States of America as well, shows their true colors on what their agenda would be. For us, it's important to take these kind of actions because it's powerful when we do business with someone. A lot of foreign policy and national security issues are addressed by trade policies. They're addressed by doing business in a region. I worked for years when I was in Washington, D.C. I served on the Armed Services Committee, but I also served on the Ways and Means Committee, which was in charge of all of our trade agreements and negotiations with other countries. I worked on policy when it was regarding peace agreements when I was there as well, and how they were set up to be facilitated and what we could do to make them more successful. It is very clear throughout history that whenever we do business with another nation, it becomes a friendlier neighborhood. When we are doing and exchanging commerce with them, barriers break down, there's more communication, there's more access to systems and information in that country because you were doing business and having commerce with them. When that is a country that hates us, we should not be doing business with them. We should not be allowing them to access our systems. You saw the South Dakota legislature endorse one of my budget items this year, which was a very, very large investment into our IT systems. We put tens of millions of dollars into upgrading our cybersecurity systems, our programs that we use to help protect them, our server upgrades, and also to address our accounting systems. I think people would be shocked if they realized how much personal information the state of South Dakota has on the citizens that live here. Think of anyone that interacts with a program. If it's child protective services, we have those family members' information there, those case files. If it's within our Department of Health, look at the amount of information that they may have that you all have experienced over the last several years when it comes to the pandemic and other vaccines or other interactions people may have with their community health centers. If you look at someone who is doing business with the Department of Tourism and the information that may be collected from booking hotel reservations or credit card information that may be entered into game fish and parks to buy the hunting licenses, we hold a lot of private information that it's extremely dangerous if it gets into the wrong hands. We've taken steps to make sure it's going to be safe, but we're also going to take steps to make sure we don't allow the wrong people to access it. And that includes other countries that would use it in nefarious ways to hurt our people, and to hurt our state, and to hurt this country.
Another piece of this web of policies about South Dakota economy was the CFIUS SD policy. Have you reflected at all on reasons that the town and
Yeah, Jason's asking about the bill that I proposed and brought to the legislature to ensure that China couldn't own our ag land. And that bill was not successful this year, although I am currently working on what I can do as governor to ensure that China doesn't get a foothold here in South Dakota. If you look at the last decade, they have increased their purchase of United States farmland by over 5,000%. Listen, we can't allow these countries to come in and to become our neighbors, especially when you are home to Ellsworth Air Force Base, which is going to be the home to the next platform that will defend this country. I'll also be asking the legislature to consider this bill again. I think it was something that wasn't on their radar, that they believed some information from our ag groups that necessarily wasn't factual in how it would work and how it would relate, and they were concerned about business issues not being timely. But there are many other states that are using our model, and it's gaining a lot more knowledge and information around it, and we'll continue to make sure that we don't allow other countries like this to come in and purchase up our assets, such as land, that then we cannot undo.
Are there any other state-owned industries outside of computing that are currently doing business with South Dakota that would be impacted by this law?
By the law that we signed into law today?
Yeah.
There could be. We're doing, this is in regards to contracts. We've gone through with our Bureau of Information and Technology and looked at all those contracts that we have and are conducting with other companies. We haven't had other companies express concerns with us. We also have over 1,000 companies that have already certified to us that they do not do business with these countries. So I think overwhelmingly the business community in South Dakota and those that we currently are doing commerce with, they endorse this idea. They're all on board and they're willing to certify to us that they will obey the law as it stands, and they're grateful that we brought it forward.
1972 law requires Canada to take a look at all of the USDA and AFIA reporting and then assess those if questionable and refer to the Attorney General. About a month ago, we had asked those departments when's the last time they conducted one of those reports and yet to do that. Is this something that is just slipped through the cracks in the state? Is this what you think is supposed to be conducted?
Absolutely. The problem with the current state statute in regards to foreign ag land ownership is that there is no reporting requirement and there is no enforcement mechanism, which is what we were trying to address with legislation this year. We didn't want to ban other countries from coming in and purchasing our land because we recognize it's important to remain business friendly in South Dakota. It's important to evaluate every single purchase and see if it really is something that is bad for our state or something that should move forward to help our citizens here get more opportunities in the future. That's why we set up the CFIUS model, the Committee on Investment, because it would review every purchase, and if it had concerns, refer it to the governor with a recommendation. Other states are approaching all-out bans, which I think is very anti-business, and people will get hurt, and there'll be good people who maybe there's confusion about how their business model is set up that will not get to move forward with a purchase because of that. Our review process, I believe, was the best approach, and it had a committee that specifically looked at every purchase and then could make recommendations on if it should move forward or not.
Yesterday you cited the tax cut holiday. I know that you've been pretty critical of it in the past couple of weeks. What changed your mind?
Well, listen, it goes away in 4 years. I think our people deserve better. We have historically changed this state. We have moved tens of thousands of people here. We have moved more economic development, investment, and business here than in our history. And it is from embracing freedom. We have embraced good business principles, and what people have always talked about working actually worked here. It was facilitating growth and profitability and incomes going up for people and for families. It's time the legislature start looking at opportunities to benefit those people that get up every day and go to work. My concern every year when we go to the state capitol is that we certainly hear a lot from people who want more funding. I wanted the taxpayers to be represented as well. So this is, a reduction in taxes for the next several years. I'm going to continue to work to make sure that it's going to be permanent in the future.
You've also signed like a slew of bills for criminal law and prisons. Do you want to just kind of talk about the expansion, from parole limitations to even the DUI? Sort of what's your statement on all of those laws that have gone?
Well, every year there's a lot of bills that move through the legislature that deal with public safety. How our criminal statutes work, also where investments go as far as keeping people safe. I think the biggest challenge that we've had is the amount of investments that need to be made into our facilities. It's been great to see the support from the legislature this year on backing up that type of investment. We fully funded a women's facility out in Rapid City, which will be built now and help us with the overcrowding that we have in the women's facility at Pier, but also allow us to add programming, because I don't think we're doing enough because of shortages in space on helping people when they get out of prison or they get out of an incarcerated situation to get addiction counseling, to get classes on financial knowledge, or even parenting classes. So we're just not able to do a lot of that because we don't have the space or the bandwidth to do it. And these types of investments in facilities like that will be incredibly powerful. Also, by being in Rapid City, it gives us the chance to do more work release programs. Individuals that can be closer to their families while they're incarcerated, so they can be visited more often, but then also they can have work release programs get tied into an employer so that when they come out of prison, they have more consistency and they could potentially step right into a career that will help them. What happens happens is if they come to Pier and they're from Sioux Falls or from Rapid City or from somewhere far away, when they go back home, they have to go find a new position, all new beginnings, adjust to all the changes that they're going through, and that only adds more stability. So I think it's going to be wonderful to see that women's facility built out, and then also have a large chunk of investment being made into addressing our men's facilities and what we're seeing here for issues at the penitentiary in the future too. Go ahead.
Yes. In your veto of the UCC bill, you mentioned that you were concerned it would make cryptocurrency harder to use. Advocates such as South Dakota Bankers Association say it'll make crypto more available, more easy to use. So what information have you seen that counters that?
Well, the facts of other entities that have addressed that veto letter have agreed with me and not the Bankers Association. They have said specifically what the language in this UCC bill updates is that it impacts currently existing cryptocurrencies, currencies that are available out there today. So if in the future a federally established CBDC is established and put into place, it would invalidate those that are currently in existence today. I think that shows clearly that it would pave the way for more domination of a federal CBDC, that it is something that this UCC guidelines does not get implemented until 2024. I would encourage the bankers to come back with clarifying language that would make sure that we're protected from invalidating other currencies that may be out there. They talk about, electronic records. They're just redefining something but not addressing the actual concern that's out there by invalidating current uses that are out there to establish a federal one if it is in the future. Should be a bit alarming to everyone and needs to be addressed.
Last question.